This time on Captain Chaos's laboratory, it's going to be an interesting one, because this will be my first conversion, and it's very common. I have several pieces that need this, so I bought lots of kits, but I'll go over it with you. This is the Department 56 animated skating pond. It's currently upside down and the bottom is removed. This. There's no easy way to remove it. If you have any of them that have this plastic cover, yeah, I can't give you an easy way. That's what I got for trying to remove it. The less damaging way is I slice my finger open. So the problem with these older pieces, this is from '95, is this motor has a tendency to fail. Well, I mean, this thing is 30 years old. Well, 29. But so I'm going to plug it in. And you'll see there's 121 volts. 120 volt motor. It's humming. But it's not moving. The mechanism is inside is not moving. I can see through the plastic and nothing's moving. It wasn't even humming earlier. Before I started the camera, I tapped it and then turned on the camera, because sometimes tapping it'll get it to start to move. This is a very dangerous style to work on. Reason being is it's 121 volts, so it's mains voltage. And make sure that when you work on it, you unplug it. Because 4 volts, 5 volts, 12 volts, you're probably not going to feel it. 121 volts, you're going to feel it. Or 120 or 115. Everybody's voltages are slightly different, and they can fluctuate throughout the day depending on the draw on the grid. So we'll just say 115 to 120 on average. And just so you can see, 100 to 120 volt, 60 and 50 hertz, 3 watt CCW, counterclockwise rotation is what this stands for. So they don't quite make this motor. They do, but they don't. And the biggest issue with these older pieces is they didn't want you to work on them. They're riveted in. You see that's a rivet and a rivet. And they're riveted to plastic. Yay. But Suntronics, also known as Happy Holiday Parts out of Florida, sells a kit. Here's the motor. And here is the replacement for the rivets. And then you got zip ties and lubricant for the tracks. Zip ties are for the wires. But on this piece, unlike, let's say, the skating pond or around the park accessory set, sorry, I had to turn around to read the stack of them I have, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sitting here that need this exact motor, and this retrofit kit. They have this over here, so you need the zip ties because all the wires are bunched up here. On this piece, it goes diagonal the long way, so these wires are stretched, and this loop or loom is for strain relief, so you can't yank the cord out. So it's a safety feature. On the other ones, they only did 1 knot, and then they hot glued the hell out of it. I mean, there's just globs. They just have very little in here. I mean, just little strings. And then this is full of hot glue with the wire nuts. And on the other ones I've taken apart, they're hot glued or taped, or both, depending on which one it is, to the bottom, whether it be over here or in this groove. Because again, this is the first one I've come across that's diagonal across the entire piece, which it is what it is. So, new motor, new options. Let's start this process. So, it is unplugged as I showed you a moment ago. So we are going to remove the 2 wire nuts. And I'm going to remove the 2 wires. So now if you were to plug this thing in, that's where you have a potential problem. That can be very, very unhealthy for you. I'm going to do it a little quicker with a bigger drill. I'm going to remove the screws from around the edges so I can get rid of this nice platform. bigger drill than the normal small one I have is because it's also their number 2s versus number 1 screws. So here's the top. Here's the dangerous wiring. Let me rephrase that. It's not dangerous. It's just can be if you're not careful. So instead of trying to tear the tape off, which I found is a 50-50 proposition of damaging it, I just take a sharp razor knife and I cut the seam. Oh, that one didn't cut. Probably because it's not as sharp after taking the bottom off. So I can remove the surface, which is 2 layers, just so you know, and get that out of the way. Now you can see how this works. So if you've never seen the inside of one of these skating ponds from Department 56, they have a big old belt right here. Kind of see the edge of it. And magnet, 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 magnet. There's the motor. Take the screw out of the center. It's not a belt, I'm sorry. It's a stabilizing rod. Why I say belt? That's weird. But there's the bottom. You can see the grease is turning yellow, so it's going to have to be cleaned up. This rod is sticky. It's going to have to be cleaned up. All this will be cleaned up because we're also drilling these out, so it's going to make some metal shavings. So I'm going to take these and set them out of the way. So now comes the fun part. Now, real fast, before we start drilling it out and making a mess. So, you saw it was screwed in. This motor is also has a screw. It's got this big flat screw right there with a lock washer, which should be the same threads as this, which it is. So you can use either screw, whatever works the best. This has 2 flat sides. This has 2 flat sides. This motor is a 4.5 RPM, 50-60 Hertz, 4 watt CW, which means it's going to spin the other direction. But I can only go with what is currently made. It just means you just turn your characters around. This is a 5.6 and this is a 4.5. So it's a slightly slower motor. But again, you have to go with what's available. Unfortunately, not everything is available. So here's where the problem comes in when you start doing this. Drilling through metal generates heat. This is plastic. So that's where we're going to have a problem. So the recommendation I got was do it from this side to start because the motor's casing will dissipate some of the heat. So I have a brand new drill bit in here. This is a standard high-speed steel drill bit. It's not anything special, no diamond tip or anything like that. This is just a standard hardened steel high-speed drill bit. And I guess warning, if your speakers are loud or you're on headphones, it's probably going to be deafening. So, safety squints if you got them when you do this. So anything flies doesn't hit you in the eyes. And one. And that's 2. So a brand new drill bit definitely helped. So now what's left is the rivet that's through the plastic, and I'm hoping if they're not too terribly this hot, I can push them through. screwdriver. Well, no, they don't want to go through. Let me see if I can drill the other end off here. Come on. It's almost out. That one's out. So the drill shaved a little off, but then it started spinning. But by spinning, it's broken free from the plastic. And there we go. They're both out now. And most of my screwdrivers are magnetic, so of course all these metal shavings are now stuck to the screwdrivers, which is fun. I'm going to clean up some of this real quick. So, just in case you're wondering, this is called a desk vac. I got this from American Science Surplus, and I said, what the hell, I'm going to test it. I've been using this for, 3 or 4 weeks now. This thing's great. It's cheap and it works. So it's got little brushes, and it sucks right up in there, and then this is a filter. So when you pull this apart, you can dump out your debris, and it works great for the plastic shavings, like when I'm making the 3-volt lights, or drilling through plastic bases like on that City Hall. Oh, it comes in so handy. And it works for more metal shavings. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to prep the surfaces. So we're going to clean them. So I'm just using some isopropyl alcohol. This is to help get rid of some of the metal shavings, as well as any grease, grime. Not that it matters too much on the back side. This side is more important. You can see how disgusting that is. And that's mostly the grease. The grease yellows over time. The yellowing is grease breaking down and dirt and grime getting into it, dust, so on and so forth. So get the lubricant out. I already have packages of lubricant. And we're not going to need zip ties on this specific one, so let me put these with my other zip ties. So I don't know what their real term is, and I've just been calling them what I was told they were called as a kid growing up. Oh, these aren't what I would think they are. These are just a nut and a screw head. The original design was with Chicago screws, which looks like two screw heads, except one's a actual nut. And these are lock nuts, so once you get it on, you can adjust the tension and it shouldn't back off. So you don't have to worry about Loctite or thread lockers of any sort or glue like Mr. Christmas uses. So, if you notice, the wings aren't in the center, just like on the original motor. So your lining up would be easy. The flat top goes through the top, because if you put the nut on there, it's going to be too proud, and the rotating mechanism will, of course, smack it. Alright, so that one's just on to where it touches the nylon, because now I'll need tools, so I'll put the other one in. So, there we go. So both of them now are on. Now what I'm going to look for is, I don't know what size nut that is, so I'm going to look for a small nut driver. That's too big. I could hold them with some tweezers, needle nose pliers, but if I have the right size nut driver, I'll just use that, which apparently I don't. They're apparently metric. And I don't have my metric small stuff unpacked. So I guess I'm going to be holding them with a pair of tweezers or pliers. Pliers I want to use are not in here, so I'll use a different set. Now, so these have a flat jaw, so I'm going to use these because they also have teeth. My other needle nose I have sitting here don't have the teeth. These are number 1 screws, so if you try and put a number 2, like the drill I was using, they won't work. One. What's nice about wire strippers is their jaws are generally flat and they have pretty decent aggressive teeth. So the motor's in. I'm just going to snug it a little bit more just to make sure we're good. Also, doing the flathead screw, you're displacing the pressure to a much larger surface, so you're less likely to crack the plastic. So there we go. There is our new motor installed, ready. Now we need to start the reassembly. Well, we've already started with this part, and that means we need to reassemble all this where the rod goes through, and also we need to clean all this, which is why I didn't put the alcohol back. I should probably find a new place for the alcohol anyway. It's in the way of one of my lamps when I go to reach for the alcohol. Always get in the way of the light that lights the bench. Metal shaving in the finger. So since you have it apart, if you're doing this yourself and you're at this stage, take the time and actually clean your stuff up. You're already here, and the last thing you need to do is do all this work and then have it start being jittery or bouncy because the bad grease has solidified and you don't have any good lubrication. So, and I'm just using cheap paper towel. You don't have to have anything special. You can use a rag, you know, a cotton rag or a polyester rag, but paper towel works for me. If you don't have alcohol, I'll link to this below. This is 99% if you haven't seen me use it before. Okay. So it's really strong stuff. If you have the slightest abrasion in your skin, this will definitely let you know exactly where it is. But the higher the percentage, the more alcohol you have. The lower the percentage, the displacement of the 1% in here is water. So this is 99% pure. And it has a really strong off-gassing. So make sure you have ventilation. I have a fan above me that is moving the air around, so it's not so concentrated. And where did I put it? Let's move that out of the way. I have a oh, no, there it is. So I already have a open tube. So this end of the rod goes through there, and this end of the rod goes through here. Like so. And we just need to line the flats of the motor with the flats of this metal bar. So you'll have to adjust it until you can seat it. So we know that this is the position I need to be in when we start. And it's easier to do this ahead of time because once it's lubricated, your fingers are going to be slimy. A little lubrication there, a little lubrication there, and then I'm going to put lubrication on all of the pads. And I'm going to do a liberal amount. Usually less is more. And that's because you don't want this stuff in the motors. But these synchronous motors are pretty sealed and the grease never really gets too close to the actual center point of the motor. And then I'm going to put some on the high spots where this metal arm swings, which it'll smear it into its place. So and let's just see if this new screw actually fits. It may not because of the shape of the arm, but you know what? Let's try it. It's barely touching, but I think I have an idea. I think this shaft sticks up a little higher than the original. Let's see. Curious if it'll go any lower without the lock washer. If it does, I can just put a dab of glue on the threads. If not, we'll go back to the original button head. Yeah, nope, that's good. So without the lock washer, it fits better. With the lock washer, it's just scraping this. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on it to make it as like Loctite. You can use white glue. I just put a very, very small drop of super glue so you can break it free. You can use thread locker, just make sure it's the breakable type. And another thing that works really good is clear nail polish. If you got some clear nail polish, that works really good. I don't have any on me or around me at the moment. I do have some. And there we go. Normally the lock washer would be fine, but I just don't like how close it is. So there we go. All right. Let's make sure it works. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to wire nut these two wires to these two wires outside of the unit. I mean, I could do it inside the unit too, I guess. I just want to make sure it works. And I could have done this before I did all the other work, just in case the motor's defective. Being AC, it does not matter which one you hook up. There is no, you got to hook this wire to this wire. As long as one wire is hooked up to one and the other wire is hooked up to the other, you're totally fine. There we go. And I'm going to rotate it. That way we can see it. Now we're going to plug it in. Look at that. And this is now going to start printing the grease in its own track. And once the grease is in its own track, I can put another thin layer of grease on top of it. Because one thing I've learned about this specific style mechanism is you need to have a healthy amount of grease in its track, or else it'll just eat through the plastic. I've seen it a couple of times, especially on Limax, not so much on the Department 56. So now I'm getting nice grease lines, as you can see. Apparently this one's not touching. Let's move it over a little. And then you can see here, we also got smears of grease. So I just put an itty bitty amount on the magnets and it'll follow these tracks. I'll clean this with alcohol too. Let's see, this one's empty. Now I'll link the kit below, and this can be used for all of these old school 120 volt motor assemblies. So any of the late 90s, I guess is when they came out, mid to late 90s. They're not cheap, but if it's something you like, you want to make it work, go ahead and pick one up. And you saw, it's been 30 minutes with me talking to you and going over everything. You could probably pump one of these out in maybe 15-20 minutes. The hardest part of it being is cutting the bottom off, which, careful, as you'll end up like me with a Band-Aid or two, and drilling. Of course, when you get to the drilling, make sure you have a good quality bit. So I'm going to let this run for another minute and keep getting that grease put in. Make sure it's nice and lubricated on its tracks. And then I'm going to stick this back on. I got to go get some small tape so I can clear tape to tape the edges down. Set her back in, screw it in. I am going to cover these in hot glue because I don't want anything to vibrate off and have one of these nuts fall off. Because again, 120 volts is a lot of power. I don't feel like having somebody get hurt. And I would recommend the same thing if you have one at home, just to put hot glue around where the two wires go in, kind of seal it. There we go. Now on this top piece, where the skaters go, what I've been told by Suntronics is the best thing to use to make this a nice slick surface is to use furniture polish. That furniture polish will be your best bet to make it a nice slick surface. So if you have furniture polish, you can also clean the top, and I would not put the furniture polish on until you put it in. That way you can tape it, but you can clean it and repolish it for the characters. And you can also buy, if you don't have any, because this came with spares, but if you don't have any, the foam pads that go on the bottom of the characters, so when they go, they slide. So new foam pads and some furniture polish, and you'll have it almost to brand new OEM slickness, mobility, so on. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video for a moment. I'm gonna go get some tape, reassemble this, and we're gonna put a couple characters on it, make sure it works like it's supposed to. And that'll be it. And then I'll link below all the information. Be back in just a moment. Okay, it's back together. Let me show you what I did. I did add some glue here to help hold that bundle, but that's what I'm talking about. See the glue, it's all filled in? Let's keep the wires from getting pulled out or causing a problem if you cut the bottom off. You don't want to touch them. So I got one of the characters. Let's see, there we go. There's metal flakes that are on here. Where's the magnet? There we go. Apparently it wasn't. The little metal flakes are going around pretty good. You can see a little black dot. That's a metal flake. That's a metal flake. Ah. try this one. So it's back together. The only thing left to do is glue the bottom on, which I'll be doing next. I just wanted you to see that it's functional, and the little character goes around. Since there's 4 different tracks, we'll try all 4. Actually, yeah, there we go. There we go. So there's all 4. So anyhow, as far as this goes, you need to cut the bottom off. I cannot give you an easy way to do it. No matter how I've tried it, it's never been successful as far as making it right around the edges. I usually always end up cracking it, or in this case I didn't crack the bottom, I just sliced my finger in 2 spaces, like really deep paper cuts. So just be careful. You'll need a sharp drill bit, preferably a metal drill bit. Actually highly recommended. Screwdriver, or a drill with a screwdriver bit. The kit from Sontronics, which I'll link below. Some cleaning agents such as rubbing alcohol, or white vinegar works too if you like the smell. And I mean, I like the smell too, but I don't want my piece to smell like it. Paper towel or a rag of some sort, soft, cotton or microfiber, to clean all the grease up, clean up the metal shavings, so on and so forth. And then just reverse order it. Put the little screw with the nut in there. Connect your wires. Doesn't matter which one goes where. It's AC, so there's no correct way on this. Do make sure that you unplug it so you don't accidentally zap yourself. Somebody around you might find it funny, but you may not find it funny once that happens. So other than that, there you go. So the only thing I have to do now is turn it over and hot glue the bottom back on. There's a little indentation where the motor was. That's what I was looking for. So you can see I was somewhat successful in certain areas getting the entire thing off, but it started chipping. That's how I cut my finger. So what I'm going to do is set her back on like it's supposed to be. And I'm just going to run a bead of glue around the edge and adhere it. And I'm going to use hot glue. And I'm just going to adhere it as I'm going. So I'm going to do push, do push, do push, do all the way around. And that'll take care of it. So again, this was made in September of '95. So 29 years old, just shy, 29 years old, and totally fixable. So any questions, comments, concerns, put them below. I'll try and link everything below. So if there's something that I didn't link, just tell me and I'll get a link for it, because I'm usually pretty good at putting the links in there, but you never know, you forget sometimes. But that will conclude this video. Until the next one, thanks for watching.